We've been bringing you the names you need to know. And our next guest is a fountain of information, especially when it comes to the Virginia Cavaliers. He is the host of Lock on Virginia, of course, part of the NFL Draft Bible Familia, and a host here on the All Access Football Network. And I was talking to Big Law before the show. I've made it through 26 episodes without missing a spot, but should that day ever come, he is the next man up. So let's welcome him into the show. Of course, part of the NFL Draft Bible Familia. How could we forget that? Big Law Lawrence Johnson checking in, man, down there in the VA. Big game tonight, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good, brother, man. Just trying to, keep it all in front of me. It keeps moving, trying to keep it there, trying to zero in on everything now that the season's in full swing. We've had such the word isn't turbulent. It's a little bit more of a joyous, turbulent situation going on here in the state of Virginia, at least from central to the east. On the west side, maybe not so much. But here on this side, everybody's kind of excited about what we got going on. So, I'm excited, man.
3-1, hosting the undefeated Florida State Seminoles, coming into this matchup ranked number 8 in the nation. They're undefeated at 3-0. Florida State coming in as a favorite also on the road, 6.5. Mm-hmm. So before we get into the matchup, Big Law, for the listening audience who haven't been keeping tabs on the Cavaliers, they're off to a good start, as you alluded to. Just give us a general overview. I see the quarterback, Chandler Morris, who I believe came over from SMU, having a very productive season. And this offense looks like they can put some points on the board.
Yeah, well, Chandler Morris, he came from North Texas.
North Texas, okay.
He was at North Texas. Before that, he was at TCU and then Oklahoma.
Right, okay. I know he bounced around.
That's right. Chandler Morris actually is the son of Chad Morris, who is legendary offensive coordinator for Clemson during Dabo's heyday, when they were winning championships. And, of course, the head coach of UVA is Tony Elliott, which was the receivers coach under Chad Morris during those heyday years at Clemson. So that was a kind of maybe a son to a father figure. He was, because I'm pretty sure Chandler was running around at Clemson practice, when Clemson was kicking everybody's butt in the ACC, and now that Chandler's a senior now or a grad student now at UVA, he was one of the first ones to call once he put his name in the portal. And I don't think it was a question. So, and of course, Chandler Morris was one of the top 10 quarterbacks last year in college football in yards, air yards for sure, and also in touchdowns. He had 32 touchdowns last year.
I was going to say he must be amongst the league leader, like the nation leaders, 1,050 passing yards. I haven't seen too many quarterbacks
already
exceed 1,000. Yeah, and just 4 games,
8 touchdowns.
8 touchdowns, 1 interception, playing very efficient, and Trell Harris making big plays, and Cam Ross. Cam Ross is a guy too. I saw him up at UConn, and I know he has some kick return ability and some speed. Give us a rundown here on this offense.
All right, I got a pretty deep list I can go through really quick. I know we got some time here. That we got to kind of get through these things, but we talked about Chandler Morris. Chandler Morris is going to give you the Baker Mayfield vibes, is what he is. He has that moxie,
gamer,
quick. Yeah. Oh man, good gamer. Almost Johnny Manziel-like, quick feet. Get out the pocket. If you look at some of his highlights, especially last week, he does like a little quick roll, sprint roll out, and a guy a guy gets outside, he breaks the pocket, spins outside of him, and chucks the ball to Trell Harris on the outside shoulder, outside pylon, top pylon, and throws a touchdown. It was about 35 yards in the air. The kid's amazing, and I think Des Kitchens, who is the offensive coordinator, has really had a hard time out here in the University of Virginia, and they're talking about how bad the offense has been. He's done great, and maybe it's because of the talent. Now, the backstory with this season with the team is, remember, the NIL, Virginia being I want to say academics first institution, okay, but they also are looked at as a public Ivy. So academics really, really are high here, kind of like a Stanford, Vanderbilt. That's what UVA fashions themselves as. And they made a decision last year to go in 2 feet in December, to go in 2 feet into this portal, to the portal and to NIL. I'd always asked the question before this year. I said, is UVA willing to sell their souls to the football gods? And they actually did, and they said they're up to the word around media circles here, $30 million on the roster.
Wow.
Yeah, somewhere inside of there. Could be a little less than that, but they went in. If you try to put the numbers together, it's up there, just for the football, with the boosters and boosters, donors, So 3-1 right now. Should have beaten NC State, but lost to NC State. But we talked about Chandler Morris, quarterback. Then they had another receiver we didn't talk about was Jamal Edrin, 6'3", 220-pound monster. He took Malachi Fields' position as the outside number 1 receiver on the team. He is a great possession guy. Came from Purdue. Big kid, man. He looks almost like physical stature of the Predator. Just a really top-heavy wide receiver, big upper body, strong. But he's done a great job as far as keeping the chains moving. That's another guy. He's definitely a pro prospect. You talked about Cam Ross. You saw him up in UConn, came from JMU. He's here at Virginia, already has a punt return, already was a player of the week in the ACC when it comes to offense, puts up a lot of yards, very explosive. Will put you in the mind of Malik Washington, who's at Miami, who came out of, who broke all the receiver records at the ACC at Virginia 2 years ago. He is definitely in the vein. He's pretty much slid into that position, and he's showing out. And then, of course, you said Trell Harris. Well, Trell Harris, who's been on the team for 2 years now, got hurt earlier, was the deep threat before he got hurt last year. And this year, actually, just last game, he had 3 touchdowns in the first quarter. Had a hat trick. Kid's phenomenal, man. He's going to be, I think, another one on the draft boards to look at. So that's 3 receivers right there from Virginia. You talk about 1,000 yards a quarter of the season. I mean, he's tracking over 4,000 yards, the quarterback is. And you got 2 receivers tracking well over 1,000 yards. And you have another receiver tracking probably, which is a possession guy, in the 600 and 700 range. Another player to look out for is Brady Wilson, who was one of the top centers in the league last year. He was one that they plucked out of the NIL, who was a top guy at UAB. He played for the Blazers, and I'm surprised that no one in the SEC could pull him out. But up until he got injured last week with the calf strain, but I think he's going to play this week. But he actually was the top center by PFF, if not top 2 in the ACC up until this point. And the guy is a steadying, calming force on the team. And I'm looking forward to seeing him play this tonight against FSU, because they're definitely going to need him making all the calls, being the quarterback of the line. On the defensive end, we got Antonio Clary. Can't hear you.
I was going to say he draws a big assignment tonight against Darrell Jackson there of Florida State. That should be a good matchup to watch.
It will. It'll be a battle inside there, and that's where UVA has really made some of their hay. Now we're talking about passing the ball. We cannot forget about them running the ball. I'll come back to Antonio Clary on the defensive side, but they have a 3-headed monster at running back. We're talking Xavier Brown, who's been the incumbent starting running back there for the last couple of years, shared time. But 2 guys have come in and jumped him and actually are starting over him. Yes, you have Harrison Whaley from Idaho, who came in, had 3 touchdowns last week, not this week, past week, but the week before. Had 3 touchdowns and broke the UVA record for longest touchdown run in a season, which was a 97-yarder. So, and he's the backup. So let me tell you about the starter.
Yeah.
The starter is Jamari Taylor, who's a running back from North Carolina Central, who came over, who was in a little bit of a scandal with, and I want to say it wasn't his fault, but it was and they're going through it right now, where it was a coach from Virginia Tech is accused of recruiting Taylor while he was still at North Carolina Central. So as that's going on, I guess he was like, look, I'm just going to go to Virginia. I know Virginia Tech's recruiting me. I'm just going to go to Virginia. And what a blessing it's been that he's been here. He has 6 touchdowns right now. He's a leading rusher on the squad, and he's actually one one of the top running backs in the ACC as well. So you got like a three-headed monster. Jamar Taylor kind of puts you in the mind of a little bit of a Joe Morris to me. You know, I'll give you a throwing back to you a little bit there on
All the
that.
guy. Yeah.
And but he's hard to tackle. He's hard to tackle. And Harrison Whaley has a little bit of that Emmitt Smith. You know, he's not super fast, but he can make you miss in the hole. But he's also a bowling ball. He's about 215 pounds. You know, at 5'11". So, you know, you got a lot of different types of body types back there, and they're running the ball. They're one of the top rushing teams in the conference as well as passing the ball. Number 7, I believe, top 10 in the country in offense. This offense is. So they're putting up over 40-some points a game. It's really impressive what they got going on in Virginia, and it hasn't been this way. I haven't seen explosiveness like this since the Herman Moore, Sean Moore days. You know,
yeah.
So that's kind of man. Yeah. So you know, it's kind of nostalgic watching them guys put up points the way that they are. But you know, and that's kind of on the offensive end. So that kind of, you know, for all those out there, those draft pundits, some of those folks who want to know what is going on, what talent is coming from the eastern side, central side of Virginia, that's what's going on here from the offensive end. Also, got to throw in there a player who could be on the also on the offensive side on the radars of draft guys is Monroe Mills. He was supposed to be their starting left tackle, who actually tore his leg up in the offseason. He was one of their top gets. He was one of the top linemen in the transfer portal in the nation, and he came to Virginia. And
is he healthy now, or
no? He's out for the whole year.
Oh man,
he's out for the whole year. But so he'll be ready for draft if he doesn't redshirt and come back. But I don't think he will. I think, you know, his credentials speak for themselves, and I think he'll be draft ready when it comes. But he was on the top lineman, period, in the ACC, and he'll be probably a mid-round draft pick, being a tackle. Probably a right tackle in the league. But talking defensive side of the ball, I got to start with he came back last week. Cam Robinson, middle linebacker, led the team in tackles. Extraordinarily talented. He's very athletic, has great hands. He played tight ends type wide receiver when he was in college. But the kid can get from sideline to sideline. He's making plays on the University of Virginia's defense. Hasn't played when playing the first 3 years for a shoulder injury, but he's back and he's looking good. Also, another top player who's coming back full time, I believe, this week. He played a little bit last week as well, but I think he's going to be back full time. Is Antonio Clary, another safety who is, you know, Virginia has had a plethora of box safeties that have come out for the past 5 years in a row, and he's right there in that same vein. Kid can run, he can hit, he can definitely tackle, but he plays, you know, with the speed and ferocity that you expect from a Virginia box safety, and he's coming back, and I think he's going to play a lot this year going forward, being that his injuries are done. But some young players to look forward to bring up. Got Cam Courtney, a wide receiver, also getting some play, getting some run. Wide receiver, sophomore on the team, looks very good. Daniel Kaelin, he's the backup quarterback. He's a sophomore, played at Nebraska, came over through the NIL. You know, these kids are eating it up, man. And Virginia's, I don't know if you heard the story in the offseason when the NIL, when the windows were open and the transfer portal windows were open, Dion had said, Virginia, you got to stop. Do you remember that?
No, I missed that one.
Yeah, Dion actually one of the running backs from Colorado had transferred to Virginia, but I guess admissions didn't work, so he had to leave. But Dion actually said, Virginia, you gotta stop. You know what I mean? He said, I gave you one. He said, that's it. Dion said that, and I'm like, he just put Virginia somewhat on the map a little bit, because some kids are gonna be like, maybe I should be looking at what Virginia has going on. What are they giving out? So that was something that I felt was actually a very positive thing for the program to have. And then, of course, going back into some younger guys, Ethan Mentor, who's a sophomore safety, who's been starting in the spot for Clary, who looks pretty good and developing. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he does as well. Then, of course, we got CJ Spence, 6'4", 190 pound freshman out of Chesapeake, Virginia, played for Kempsville. One of my guys, Daryl Cherry, coach at Kempsville High School. So yeah, man, I'm just trying to fill it up, man. I know we got some time constraints, but I want to kind of give the viewers and listeners some information about the Virginia guys and what I've been seeing.
No, it's outstanding stuff, and that's why we had you on. I told the listening audience on the show yesterday, nobody knows more about Virginia football than Big Law, and you see me taking notes feverishly because I'm going to be tuned into this matchup tonight. And really, that's how we met. I don't know how many years ago now it was, but you never know who you're going to sit next to in the press box. And me and Big Law were sitting there chopping it up, and man, I left the game. I was like, this guy knows what he's talking about. He gave me so many players. And I remember actually you were the first one to tell me about Noah Taylor.
Yeah.
And in a full circle moment, when I was with Edmonton last year, we actually signed him up north, and he's now starting there at defensive end. So, hey, these are the names you need to know, man. This is great stuff. And you mentioned Joe Morris. A lot of people probably don't know that, Joe Morris, after he retired from the NFL, he kept playing in a New Jersey semi-pro league. He was in my cousin's tackle football league. He played till he was like well into his 40s.
Wow.
Just because he loves the game so much. Yeah. It was,
man, he was a monster.
Yeah.
He was a monster.
Yeah.
Hard to tackle and broke a lot of hearts down here in DC.
Yeah,
I'm telling you that.
Well, listen, I do want to sneak in some quick Virginia Tech talk before we do.
Sure.
Do you have a prediction for the Virginia game? They're getting 6.5 at home. How do you see the outcome here?
I think Virginia can win the game. I think they have the book on Castellanos. I know that the roster is a lot better because he's at Florida State with a ton of 4 and 5 stars. When he was at Boston, he's been at Boston College. He's from where you're from, up there in the north, and he's one of those guys who,
I'm familiar.
And he kind of puts you in the mind of a little bit of a Kyler Murray-esque player.
Baby Kyler. It's right here in my notes. That's exactly how he plays. Yeah,
exactly. You keep him in the pocket and try to make him throw over the 6'7", 6'5", 6'6" lineman. He has trouble, but do not give him any rush lanes. The 3 words I said on my show this Tuesday: rush, lane, integrity. Keep him in the pocket, make him throw. But UVA had a great game against him last time they played him, kept him in the pocket. I want to say they sacked him at least twice and won the game, but they limited his effectiveness. They didn't let him get out the pocket and make these off schedule throws and for these big chunks. But that's the thing with Castellanos: keep him in the pocket, don't let him break the pocket as far as making these big plays, because he has so much talent to throw to downfield. And then of course he has some great running backs as well. So I'm looking at Virginia winning by a point in the mid 30s. Okay. I'm thinking, that's where I'm at with it. I just think that this atmosphere that they're building down here, they are pumping this is the 30-year anniversary when Virginia beat Florida State when Warwick Dunn was stopped on the goal line. Now, the backstory with that is, when Florida State entered the ACC, they hadn't lost in over 3 years. And when they came to Charlottesville, and that was the first time they had lost in the ACC, and it was a Warwick Dunn fumble and a Anthony Poindexter tackle with a Jamie Sharper on the back end swiping his leg, and he fumbled. It was just great, but it was at the goal line going into the locker rooms, going towards that direction, and it was one of the epic times at Virginia. So they're pumping that 30-year anniversary game and putting it all on the screens and putting it all up. So, and they actually are bringing back those actual throwback jerseys for tonight, with
so it sounds like there could be a little storming of the field.
Oh my goodness. Yes, because it was then. It was the first time Florida State lost in the ACC. So, they're bringing it in with the orange collar jerseys, which is those throwbacks.
Talking to Big Law, Lawrence Johnson, part of the NFL Draft Bible Familia, and I appreciate the time, Big Law. Before we get you out of here, let's talk Virginia Tech, because you're down there, and one of the names that has surfaced is also Norfolk State head coach Mike Vick. I guess the question is, you're talking about all this NIL, Virginia Tech recruiting a lot of the same players. Do you think Mike Vick can come in, and obviously there's no NIL situation at Norfolk State? Would that be too much for a Mike Vick to come in and overtake, or is he a legitimate candidate, do you think?
I don't think right now, as much as I like to see Mike as well as he's doing, as far as getting recruits, because recruits are going to come just because of the name. But I don't think he's ready quite yet for a Virginia Tech coaching job. I think he's still working out everything at Norfolk State. I think right now Norfolk State is 1-3, I believe, and they're, he's still getting together. And he has a pretty good staff down there as well, a couple of Wahoos on the staff. But I think that he just needs to, get more seasoned and continue to see, how well he can do down there down here at Norfolk State. And I think he'll do okay. I just think that it'll take a little bit before it could be the next time the job comes open that Mike is definitely going to be on the radar. But as far as Virginia Tech goes, the coaching search, the usual suspects, the Shane Beamers, their fantasy pick. They want Shane.
Is that
Beamer
realistic
back.
though? Do they have the money to pull him out of?
They don't. That's a great statement there. They don't, and that's what has been the issue at Tech. Whit Badcock, the AD here, is I don't want to say he's crying, but he's like begging, like, donors, we need money. We don't have
Now,
the
where
money.
where are they in comparison to Virginia? Do you know?
They're about another hour and a half, 2 hours up the street going west toward in Roanoke.
But in terms of NIL money, though, like, are they?
Oh gosh, I wouldn't suspect maybe a third. They're probably spending maybe half or a third of what Virginia spent. If UVA's number actually is 30 million, they're probably somewhere half of that or less, to a third more. So there's not the support that the Virginia fan base and boosters are giving. I mean, I'm looking at other names like John Gruden. I mean, pipe dream guys John Gruden has an affinity, obviously, for the Virginia Tech brand. I heard Lane Kiffin, Urban Meyer, and it's like, we're not that big, we're not that big in Virginia. I don't think Virginia, with all the money they had, could really get one of those names right now, especially, it'll just take some time to build the brand. But Virginia Tech, they're still, right now, they're definitely in a lot of trouble because of once the coach resigns, of course, the NIL,
the portal
opens up for 30 days, so these kids can go anywhere. And if you look at now they're starting to post injuries for college players. Their list is unreal, and who knows how
nobody wants to play now. Yeah,
exactly. So poor fans, and poor the situation for their program right now. But I hope that I'm a Virginia State guy, period. I want all of our kids out there and all the players, to have a successful career and and to be successful scholar athletes. And Virginia Tech, when they're good and we're good together, that's when the state thrives. So they need to get it up, and we want them to get it up as well, so that when we beat them, there'll be no excuses.
Yeah, we'll be keeping tabs on the new Virginia Tech head coach, and I'm sure we'll be keeping tabs on Big Law. Tell the listening audience where they can find all your work at.
They can find me anywhere on Facebook. Look for Lawrence Johnson, Big Law Lawrence Johnson. On Facebook, 7 City Shop Talk Sports. That's the brand that I have right here, 7 City Shop Talk Sports. You can also catch me on YouTube and some Twitter or X as well. So we're actually me and my squad, I got about 5 guests. We're 5 hosts that we're that we'll probably meet there tonight, and I'm gonna definitely do a pregame, postgame, and halftime for the game as well. So y'all follow me and check me out, and I'll and you'll see what we got going on. It's going to be an electric atmosphere out there with Florida State coming in, and they always come in heavy, man. Rich guys coming in with all those RVs parking. You know what I'm saying, Rick? Those guys be coming up. I mean, when I was getting recruited at UNC, I did, and it was that Peter Warwick game. I came out in '95, so this, there was about 5 or 6 RVs all pulled up together, all colored in Florida State colors, and I was like, what in the world is going on here? I said, these mobile homes were just like $500,000 mobile homes, and I said, Florida State is for real. This is when they was in their heyday as well. So, yeah, it was awesome, dude. It was awesome.
Good stuff. And we appreciate the information. We appreciate the time. And, send me that link too. I'll try to get it out there for that pregame show, because I'd be interested in tuning in and learning more about this matchup. Like I said, I'm going to be dialed in, 7 p.m. kickoff. I know you're shooting down to the stadium right now.
Yep.
So we'll let you boogie on off. But thanks a lot for shedding the light on the Virginia program. I had no idea they were moving and grooving in the NIL world like that.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. On top, man. They're one, But then some of them, well, I think in the ACC, I don't want to say they're the top, but they're right up there, man. They've got to be, But Virginia, I guess they feel like they want to throw their money around. They're throwing it around.
All right, pretty impressive stuff. We'll be watching to see if Big Law storms the field with the student body later on.
Get trampled.
All right, Big Law, man. We'll be talking to you. Appreciate it.